Skyrim is over 10 years old now, and to this day, fans are still coming up with theories on what really happened to the Dwemer or why Maik the Liar shows up in every game. There are plenty more mysteries in the Elder Scrolls V, and that is what brings us here today. And what is up, guys? Andrew from the Den Men here, and today we will be going over the top 5 most interesting theories for the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. There are a lot of different ones out there, so if you are excited, make sure you hit that like button and comment what your favorite mysteries are in Skyrim. But with that being said, there's a lot to go over, so get comfy, grab that bottle of Hunting Brew Mead, and let's get right into the video. Starting off at our number 5 spot is the Sheogorath we see in Skyrim, the champion of Cyrodiil from Oblivion. How could the protagonist from another game become the Daedric Prince of Madness, you ask? Well, for those who haven't played through the Shivering Isles DLC from Oblivion, there is an event called the Grey March, where the Daedric Prince of Order, also known as Jyggalag, takes control of Sheogorath for a time and brings order to the Shivering Isles. At the end of the expansion, the champion of Cyrodiil comes face to face with Jyggalag and defeats him, breaking the curse between him and Sheogorath. The Prince of Order is now left to roam the plains of Oblivion and names the champion of Cyrodiil the new God of Madness. That's where we leave the protagonist of Oblivion, but jump forward 200 years or so and we may have interacted with him as the Dragonborn. In the quest The Mind of Madness, we are teleported from the Blue Palace to a former Emperor's mind in Pelagius Septum. There we will be able to interact with the Prince of Madness once again, but how can we tell this is the hero of Kvatch? Sheogorath during the quest talks about how he was there during the Oblivion Crisis and goes on to talk about butterflies, blood, a fox, and a severed head. To break it down, the butterflies are referencing the start of the Shivering Isles DLC, blood is talking about the main storyline facing off against Mehrunes Dagon, the fox is the Grey Fox from the Thieves Guild questline, and the severed head is talking about the head of Matthew Bellamont's mother from the Dark Brotherhood questline in Oblivion. What do all of these scenarios have in common? The champion of Cyrodiil took part in them. So Bethesda's hinting that Sheogorath and the hero of Kvatch are now the same person. This would be very exciting if this were true, and there are definitely a lot of hints pointing towards it, but it can still be left up for interpretation that Sheogorath was just observing all of this unfold, and that is why it lands at our number 5 spot. Next up is a unique one because it ties together both the Fallout and Elder Scrolls universe and how they could possibly be connected. There is a big Easter egg pointing towards this on the Brotherhood of Steel's Prydwen in Fallout 4. On the lower decks, there is an experimental plant that eerily resembles Nirnroot from the Elder Scrolls series. Not only that, it is also stated that it has similar properties to the one we can find in Skyrim. When consumed, there's a type of health buff that is very close to the same properties in the Elder Scrolls V. And on top of that, there's a terminal nearby that references the plant being called NRT, which could be an abbreviation for Nirnroot. Could this mean that Fallout and Elder Scrolls exist in the same universe, or is Bethesda just giving a fun Easter egg to another one of their games? We may never find out, and that is why it sits at our number 4 spot. Coming in at our number 3 spot, we have probably one of the biggest mysteries that is still being debated to this day. Are the people of Rorikstead Daedra worshippers? There is actually a lot of evidence pointing towards this being a likely scenario, but there is no concrete proof of this being the case. Let me explain. In all of the houses in Rorikstead, you can find soul gems. Very suspicious for a group of farmers to have some form of arcane magic. It goes deeper though, because if we take a look at the book called The Holdings of Jarl Gallen, we can find that there was a Rorik farmstead all the way back in the First Era. Now it is possible that the place could have been inhabited all this time, but the supposed leader of the town is also named Rorik, and he claims he bought this land after fighting in the Great War. It is quite the coincidence that there are two different Roriks in the same place over 3 eras apart. And until recently, Rorikstead has also been stated as not having fertile soil for the longest time. Then all of a sudden, it changes to having some of the best soil in all of Skyrim. This is a little strange for something to happen like this so drastically, and I doubt it was done by common means. Finally, there is a secret wizard that lives in the town, and sometimes you can find him speaking to a girl who is supposedly his student. Listen in on their conversation, and the wizard will ask the girl to keep quiet on her training, saying, "Do you want the whole village to learn of our secrets?" This is an interesting line of dialogue because it alludes to something else going on in the farmstead. What do you guys think though? Do you think that Rorikstead is just a quaint little town blessed by the divines, or is there something else happening a lot darker than what we can see on the surface? We will likely never get our answer to what is actually going on, but it is definitely an interesting story nonetheless, and that is why it is at our number 3 spot. The companions in Jorrvaskr have helped the people of Skyrim for generations, but they have a dark secret hidden under the Skyforge. Unknown to most, the inner circle of the companions are actually all werewolves. During the story for the companions, you come across a group of werewolf hunters, also known as the Silver Hand. What if I were to tell you that the mortal enemies of the companions were once a part of this famed group of warriors? Somewhere down the line, becoming a werewolf became a part of what it meant to be a fully realized member of the companions, and some of them didn't like this, so they decided to leave. Once this happened, they all chose to create their own group known as the Silver Hand to hunt down any werewolves like the companions. This would explain why they want the fragments of Wuthrad and why you can find several volumes of Songs of the Return which illustrate the achievements of Ysgramor and his companions. This is actually very plausible for being true and would explain the lack of a backstory for the Silver Hand. I find this one interesting because it ties together the two factions really well, and that is why it sits at our number 2 spot. And finally, at our number 1 spot, did the Emperor of Tamriel actually kill himself? It's no secret that Titus Mede II was not a beloved ruler. There was the Great War, Talos worship was outlawed due to the White Gold Concordat, Hammerfell had seceded from the Empire, and the Civil War in Skyrim happened. This all occurred during his reign. During the Elder Scrolls V, there are plenty of hints pointing towards a second Great War, and a person like Titus Mede would not be able to lead his people effectively during such a crisis. So even though his double was just murdered in solitude, his boat, the Kataraya, is still docked nearby. Once you get in his cabin past the few guards that are stationed there, it's almost as if he knew you were coming from the lack of resistance. All he asks is that you do one thing: kill the man who gave you the contract. This wasn't because he wanted revenge, he wanted to tie up loose ends so nobody would ever find out. Modier was likely one of his most trusted advisors, and he went to him looking to get this job done. This leads to one final conclusion: that the Emperor arranged the hit on himself, so that the Empire would be ready for when the Second Great War arrives, and if this is true, it is no doubt one of the best conspiracies in Elder Scrolls history. Skyrim has a ton of mysteries that are worth taking a deep dive into. Some might be game-changing ones, others might be the smallest detail that someone could find. Either way, they are all interesting in some type of fashion and lead to even more exploring into the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. But that is all for me now though, guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Comment any videos you want to see in the future, and I'll see you all next time.